All right, stop what you're doing because I'm about to ruin the image and the style that you're used to today on the Manspace. Welcome to the Manspace podcast. We're your hosts, Doctors Matt Brown and Rob Porter, and clinical therapist Mike Porter. Welcome,
That
spacemen.
feels like a song lyric.
Yeah, it's
Sorry.
Humpty Hump,
There you go.
right? All right, stop what you're doing because I'm about to ruin the image and the style that you're used to. I think it's Do the Humpty Hump, right? You don't know that?
don't
He's got the big fake nose on.
I mean, I know, I can visualize it.
Hold on, now I have to know because I'm about to ruin Digital Underground Humpty Dance. Yeah, hump, do the Humpty Hump. Stupid song. Oh man, there are some songs. Maybe we've talked about this before, but I'm sure we have. This is one of my favorite experiences in the Philippines. Hearing this song, where the woman's just singing, "I'm horny, I'm horny, 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 I'm horny, I'm horny, horny, horny tonight." And in the background, some other woman's going, "I'm horny all night long, so horny all night long." We're thinking, what producer was like, "Yeah, that's a moneymaker." Like someone signed off on the whole thing. And then I don't know, this Humpty Hump song, is it really do the Humpty Hump? I gotta see now. Humpty. I probably
That's
hump the hump.
the Humpty Dance.
Humpty Dance lyrics. Everyone has to sit quietly while Rob reads through these lyrics.
The name of the album is Sex
The Humpty
Packets.
Dance. The Humpty Dance is your chance to do the hump. Come on. Do the Humpty Hump. Do the Humpty Hump. Check me out, y'all. Do the Humpty Hump. Do the Humpty Hump. Oh, what a delight humans are. All right, here's why that was the intro. When Mike and I were picking, Matt's not here again, although in Matt's defense, he's attending a funeral on Friday, so he had to move everyone to today. So our condolences to Matt.
Matty.
Yeah. He won't listen, but that's fine. Everyone else can know we condoled him. Condolenced him? Condolized. Condola.
Condolized? Like Condoleezza?
Marianne, when you say the word melancholy, she likes to say melancholy.
Melancholy.
Melancholy. And then Marco Polo thinks it's someone's name. Marianne's friend Melancholy. I was like, what? This is my friend Melancholy. Hey, dude.
By the way, have you heard?
Oh, go ahead.
Have you heard Ben Folds' Christmas album?
Yes. Only once through so far. It's very melancholy.
Yes.
I told Becky, I said, there's not really any songs that are Christmas songs you'd recognize.
No, they're not.
But
they're all originals.
They're just melancholy Ben Folds songs that say Christmas in them, or they talk about Christmas time.
But there's to me, it has a very wintry mood.
Well, yes, I told Becky it has a very Charlie Brown Christmas kind of mood.
Yeah.
Slow, sad jazz.
Mm-hmm.
But it's okay because one of us is going to his show. It's me.
We actually might go.
When is it in Kansas City?
He's playing. Well, so you're going to like the Paper Airplanes tour.
Yeah.
Have you heard about this?
Yeah, you throw the paper airplane with the songs you want.
Yeah, and he'll just kind of pick songs up and play them.
I got a song in mind that no one else is going to pick, I'm sure.
What is it?
Paddle Boat.
Which is that the newest?
It's the newest, yes. I can't remember the name of it now. It's got Winslow Gardens, and it's not What Matters Most, is it? Anyway, go ahead.
Yes, that's what it is. I was going to say Slade is technically his newest, but
yeah, Slayer.
Is it Slayer?
I think so.
I thought it was Slade.
Maybe it is Slade.
Anyway,
I
can tell you in a minute. I was listening to it yesterday. Oh no, you're right. It is
Continue.
Slayer. He's coming and performing with the Kansas City Orchestra
I wanted to
or
see
the
one
Kansas
of those
City
things.
Symphony, and
'Cause-
so we're gonna go. And
Yeah,
actually, apparently, the Kansas City does you can create your own symphony package
Uh-huh.
where you can get you have to do a minimum of 4 shows. I think you could do more than that, but you have to do at least 4 shows.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just get discounts on all the tickets. And so they're doing like Handel's Messiah in like a month. Yeah. And then, do you know who Cody Fry is?
Nope.
You might recognize him. He's got a good voice. Like, I would enjoy it, but it would be him with the symphony and then Ben Folds. And then they're doing one of those play along with a movie soundtrack, like while the movie plays.
Oh yeah, cool.
They're going to do Harry Potter, so we might get and do all 4 of those things. But
yeah, I should do that.
We'll probably for sure do the Ben Folds thing.
I'm bummed that if it's just him, you're going to miss parts of songs. If it's just him on a piano.
What do you mean?
Like actually the song that I want to hear, Paddle Boat, there's like a guitar all the way through it. Like I don't know how he's going to do that. He just play. It won't be the.
I think he has a touring band.
Okay, I hope so.
Yeah, that's what I understood. He no longer has like an official band.
Right.
But he's got musicians he tours with.
All right. We'll hope so.
Yeah.
All right.
Are you going with like you and Beck's going?
Yes, my lady friend, Rebecca.
Yeah.
Classy night out. Ben Folds and Whataburger.
Yeah, there you go. I told Jenna you were going, and she went looking and found that he was coming here.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
This is the kind of show I'm like, I can get on board with that. I don't have to, there's a seat for me to sit in.
Yeah.
You know, we got that RX Bandits thing in March.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we got this thing with them. I'm like, cool. I'm excited about the meet and greet thing, but mostly like if I could give that up in order to get like a couch to sit on during the show, I'll do that.
I'd give that up.
Yeah.
It's one of those where I'm like, this is going to be one of those weird things where I'm probably not going to talk to anybody. It's cool.
Sir, do you have any questions? No, sir. Thank you. I'm just glad to be here. All right.
Will you I'll just ask him to send my moob. Will you send my moob?
Get a tattoo of it. All right. Today's episode is going to be a continuation. And it's also, I think there's some things in it that I will say in here that I think are going to branch into an episode we've talked about doing around. We haven't said this officially on the show, but we've talked about doing something around. This is how I'd phrase it. I want men to learn a different relationship with sex so that it feels like I'm in control of my sexual desires rather than they drive my behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the stuff I might say today might branch into that. And Mike, I'm not entirely sure where you're going to chime in or what you're going to chime in on. Maybe I may need to be slapped in the face a little bit. Cause I feel frustrated at some things that we have talked about before. And I think the theme of my rant, as much as I want men to know that they need to do better, because we need to do better in relationships. We need to do better as just humans in general. Listening to this book that we're doing for the show, the Celestine Prophecy.
Celestine Prophecy.
and thinking about, I don't know if you started it yet, but some of these insights that it talks about, and realizing how much men overly focus on their careers because we're trying to prove ourselves, prove our worth. And that's the only way we know how to prove our worth, because I think we suck. We think we suck. We think, no, that was too many we thinks. We think we suck in relationships. So here's the theme of my thing is, even though I want men to do better, this is not excusing that. I think, men, you're doing better than you think you are. You are not the problem in relationships. Now, that's not to say that you are not a part of the problem, but you are not the problem. So, all right. So in a previous episode where I said, I think the title was actually, "What if you are the problem?"
Mm-hmm.
It was a sneak attack, and I was really saying, ladies, you might be the problem. Now, again, I can't emphasize this strongly enough. I'll say it one more time and probably 5 more times, but I don't actually believe that it's like one person is the problem. I believe so strongly in feedback loops through systemic dynamics that I don't ever think one person's the problem. And I think we send feedback constantly, even unintentionally, that creates problems for ourselves and for our partners. But I keep, like, even this morning talking with a couple. I know, weird, Rob. You said this morning? No way. So I only do therapy 1 day a week, apparently. I charge
The day we
$6,000.
record.
$6,000 a session. It's the only way I can cover all my expenses. So yes, Mike, we're going to talk about my fees.
Wow, is that super? No, I didn't say anything.
That's because I won't get into it right now. But I'm sitting this morning and watching this dynamic of talking with a couple where he messed up and he knows he messed up. And the problem is, once someone's messed up, that becomes the thing where it's like, well, you did this, so now you're the reason everything else sucks. And it's hard to sometimes say, hey, things sucked before. And actually, in multiple sessions this morning, I would ask this question essentially of like, well, what is it that you want? Like, what are you looking for? And the answer often comes back into, I want them to do this, this, or this. And there's this kind of blanket assumption. And this, I shouldn't even say blanket, because sometimes it goes the other direction. But most of the time, what I see is that women have this kind of general, and men buy into this idea that women are good at relationships and men are idiots. And so we spend all our time, like, I was thinking about this. It's interesting the way, even in a quote unquote traditional setting where like a male pursues a female, and like we go catch them, and it's like, I got one to buy into me, like, and there's this idea that we've talked about on multiple episodes, that men are kind of buffoons. So I think about, and I think I mentioned this in 2 episodes ago, but I think about Homer Simpson, or um, the Honeymooners, or the updated version of Honeymooners, King of Queens,
Mm-hmm.
or Modern Family, Phil. I mean, I could keep going, but in most of these situations, the men are just kind of idiots and they have to go apologize. Every once in a while, you'll get something where it's like the female might apologize, but it's usually like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem the same. It's not like, I'm apologizing because I'm an idiot in general. It usually feels like in these shows and in relationships, it's like, I don't know, I'm just kind of an idiot in general. So then I looked up today. I was like, well, let's see if I search how to be a better husband. The first thing that happens is, when I searched it on Google has, from sources across the web, they have 28 things listed. Things like stay positive, take care of yourself, show your feelings, be nice, listen. Let's see, make your relationship a priority. Forgive offenses, which there's I got some stuff I think, okay, this one's kind of funny. Know your wife. That one I feel like, well, that's a dangerous thing to say. Be trustworthy, communicate effectively, go on dates, have good sex. Women, there wasn't such a summary when I searched it, but there were websites that have some stuff. This one, I liked the first one, stop the nagging. Okay. I don't always agree with that wording, but I get that we all know what it is. Second one was show him respect, then initiate sex, then flirt with him, then give him time to unwind and point out his strengths. And it feels like when I read these things sometimes, and this is maybe also a history of like hearing people present, and it usually sounds like women, you're doing okay, you're doing pretty good. And for men, it's like you got to do better, and men are like, yep, all right, got to do better. And this one feels like men do better, be nicer to her, go on dates, do this and this. And women, it's like, hey, he's not doing so bad. Encourage him. Hey, let him know he's doing a good job. That's why I like the one that said stop nagging. It feels like, okay. I've seen some that say stop criticizing him so much. It's like, yeah, okay, I can buy into that. But they feel justified in their criticism. It's like, no, you're wrong. I know how to do this and you don't. Like, you're supposed to share your feelings and you don't know how to do it. So like this morning I'm talking with somebody, I think, but he just did. You just didn't notice it. He said, this is what you've asked me to do. I don't know what to do. You're saying you don't want that, and then you're telling me that's what you want me to do. I don't understand. Like, I was like, it's the start of, you have to listen to that. There's validity in that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have an answer to this. Other than to say, I think I've said this before, like 2 years ago. I remember being up in Seattle, visiting Ryan in Tacoma, and Tacoma is one of a few cities up in the Seattle area that gets made fun of for being nasty, because it stinks like paper mills and I think like a brewery. And there's bumper stickers that were supposed to be, it's kind of like Keep Austin Weird. It's supposed to be like revitalize, believe in your city. And all it said was, come on, Tacoma, you're beautiful. And which is funny to me. Anytime something gets made fun of in Seattle, like Tacoma or Federal Way or Kent, I'm always like, have you been to those places? They're still really freaking pretty. Like, it doesn't matter how dumpy that town is. But I feel like that with men, it's like, come on, man, you're beautiful. Like, you're doing pretty great. Keep being a better dude. Keep focusing on how do I be a better dude, the kind of dude I want to be. But also, don't buy into this thing that's like, it's your fault. Don't go into therapy thinking I'm in trouble. And she found a therapist to support her in how I'm in trouble because I just don't really know what I'm doing. Just tell me exactly what to do. It's like, no, you know what you want in a relationship. Freaking speak up for yourself. So now I probably better pause because I don't even know where I'm going anymore. Other than to say, in general, I don't like this idea that we perpetuate in men and boys. I feel like from the time they're little, that like, you're lucky that this woman even picked you. Don't screw this up. And it unbalances a relationship from the very beginning. Now, I don't think all relationships are this way. And I'm sure there could be some women out there who maybe, if they listen to this, are getting offended, being like, are you saying I'm the problem? And I'm saying, no, but I'm saying that men are not the problem. Stop thinking that. And it doesn't have to be one or the other. Okay. I'm sure I have more to say. Again, the problem with this is I've given myself a microphone. And so it's like, well, I have some thoughts. I don't know what they are. This happens sometimes when I'm in therapy sessions with people. I'm like, real sorry about this, but here goes. I don't know where I'm going, but here goes.
I did that yesterday. Nope, Monday.
Well, do you have any, I don't know, any thoughts, any rebuttals? Slap me in the face?
Sure. No. Like, it's one of those, I had a client just the other week where he said
this morning.
I didn't see any clients this morning, so yeah, pretty sure. No, but he said no, the only time things feel like it's calm is when I'm being told it's my fault.
Isn't that weird?
And I was like, huh. And
That
it
that
was,
feels right to him at this point.
yeah. And that's it. It's the thing that's, and he's like, I don't like that. And I was like, yeah, I can't imagine you would. And I don't, I don't phrase it. I probably should phrase it this way. Like, I don't talk about the feedback loops and the systemic dynamics. I usually just tell clients, like, I have a weird relationship with fault. Like, I yes, I suppose it's possible that someone's at fault, but I feel like in relationships, it's not like a car accident
Right.
where, like, I was doing everything the way I was supposed to, and this guy rear-ended me, so it's his fault. I think, no, in relationships, in fact, like, I so often will tell clients, like I'll hear them talk about, like, that need to be right, or and I think, you know what, like, you're focusing so much on being right, like it's a competition.
Yeah.
There is no winner here. Like, you need to shift from being right to being understood. Like, do I actually understand the thing my spouse is trying to tell me?
Uh-huh.
Or do I think my spouse understands the thing I'm trying to tell them?
Uh-huh.
Um, and so but again, and that's the funny thing. I think, yeah, I've seen it where I've watched one spouse that will continually just kind of repeat the same thing,
Right.
where it's like, I mean, clearly my okay, it's the examples that are readily coming to mind. It's the wife saying, I mean, clearly my husband doesn't get it, because if he got it, he wouldn't still be doing it.
Yeah, that happens all the time. That's what I mean.
And
That's
I
why I'm
think,
ranting.
right, well, and that's the thing is, yeah, and I think this is a bigger societal issue for sure. Like,
Yes.
I think, no, like, part of the problem is we don't like when someone disagrees with us. And
Sorry.
our assumption is, and this is where, when I talk about, like, it's not about being right or wrong, it's about understanding. Or, like, I was talking to a guy the other morning, and he said, we had been talking a lot about identifying what he could control, right? And in those in conversations, focusing on the thing he can control, like,
Right.
as he's interacting with his kids, like, hey, focus on, like, you can't control whether they're going to do the thing you're inviting them to do. All you can control is whether you invite them. And he goes, yeah, I've kind of fallen victim to a thing. And I was like, what's that? And he goes, I feel like if I can just explain it in the right way, then they'll do it. And I go, so you're still just trying to control them? And he goes, yeah. But I thought, right, because there's that idea of, no, but if they could just see it the way I see it, then they would understand and do it my way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, no, they might just disagree with you. Like, they just might not want to do it that way ever. Like, yeah, I can totally see why that appeals to you, but it's not going to appeal to me. So I'm not doing it ever. But that's very hard for us. And so like I said, I've watched a lot of the women I work with in couples where they will just kind of continually, and I've seen it, like, admittedly, I can think of right off the top of my head at least two different men that I've worked with where I'm like, no, that's not how this works. Like, if you're just going to hope that I'm going to tell her she needs to do it your way, you're waiting for something that's not going to happen. Like, I'm not going to tell her she needs to do it your way. But they'll just kind of keep beating that idea because, hey, like, if you just understood, you would do it my way.
Right.
Control by influence, I think, is how I referred to it when I talk to clients.
Well, and I like that, control by influence. I think, like, I do talk about the the feedback loops because I need people to start to believe that the model of psychology, which is most of psychology, excuse me, that basically says, it never says this directly, but it basically says you can exist and be understood in isolation from your
Yeah.
relationships. I don't think that exists. Nobody exists in isolation from the relationships. You start your entire life for the first 18 years inside of one house with multiple relationships. Your whole sense of identity is based on your connection to somebody else. Um, excuse me. So I talk about that because I need to start to shift their thinking. And this is what I said 2 weeks ago: is it's not that you've done something, or 3 weeks ago, it's not that you've done something wrong. Necessarily, you're doing something ineffective. Now, sometimes you are doing something wrong. I do think it's wrong. Like, this is where I said I'd branch into this idea of like, we should do an episode on men controlling their own sexual desires and like gaining a solid control, not repression, but a control over their sexual appetite, we'll say, or whatever. There's I don't know if you've heard of this movement 4B. So it started, I think, in South Korea, and it's becoming, because of the election recently, a lot of women have been like, well, I'm all for that. 4B essentially is like swear men, and specifically sex, out of your life until you get the rights that you deserve as a woman. The thing that bothers me about it is I feel like that perpetuates in both women and men's mind that men can be controlled through sex, which is a terrible distortion of what good sex actually is. And a terrible distortion of like communication, all sorts of things, not to mention the fact that there's this weird implication, and this is not true, that there's a bunch of like rich white men in the room being like, all right, what rights can we take away from women? Now, the funny thing is, even if that is true, I think there are still a lot of women who voted for those men for that specific reason.
Yeah.
They wouldn't phrase it to take my rights away. They phrase it on a flip side. But it's not like all men are out there being like, how can we screw women over? And women are like, fine, we'll take it back. We're taking back our sex. And I think, I don't like that. I just don't like the way relationally, I think that is so damaging. Now, I'm not saying, I'm not trying to get in a political thing here where I'm saying, hey, it's right for men to take women's right away, especially over their own bodies. I'm saying, don't use this thing as this weird, like, wait, that's not the way to approach this. If this is a policy matter that happens at this governmental level, don't say, well, then men, you can't have sex anymore, until it's like, what? Plus, it distorts sex in women's minds too. It's like, I don't even need it at all. It's like, well, that's not true. Sex is a massive source of connection, intimacy, all sorts of stuff. So you're cutting all those things out of your life. Now, I get a little frustrated by it because it does also perpetuate this idea that men are just walking penises, and I can't stand that idea. I do think men need to be much better at learning how to actually say, like, believe and declare, yes, I have feelings, and this is what they are. You don't have to become a blubbering idiot about your feelings, but just to say, well, this is what's going on for me.
Right.
Because then you can say, well, look, do I want to have sex tonight? Yes. Is it just because I'm horny? No. I want to feel close to you. I want to feel loved and accepted. And that's the easiest way I know how to do it. I always feel it when we do it that way. So why wouldn't I want more of that? But then it just perpetuates this idea that's like, oh man, they're so easy to control. You know what you should do if you want your husband to do what you want? Then promise him sex. It's like, ugh. And then men are like, well, that's true. I mean, if she wants to, the best time to ask me to go do this or this is when we just had sex, it's like, man.
Right. But it's like, that's the funny thing to me, because I think, but going back to, for men, taking the time to really understand what it is you're getting. Like, as you said it, I thought, sure, probably the best time to ask him is right after sex, is because he's relaxed and feeling close to you emotionally.
Right.
And when there's that emotional connection, we are more apt to want to help somebody. that emotional connection can come outside of sex. It comes between dudes outside of sex frequently,
Right.
where we want to help someone because we feel emotionally connected to them. Right? Maybe they're complaining about the same thing and we think, yeah, I can connect to that emotion, and we bond, and suddenly it's like, well, here, let me help you with this thing. Why?
Right.
Well, this is what dudes do, right? And so I think, yeah, like if you take the time to look and say, what is it that this is getting me? Like, it's like you said, yeah, sure. Physically, it feels great. I like it. My body
Mm-hmm.
is, like horny because of the testosterone and blah, blah, blah. And I think, sure. But also, spend time and see that no, there's more you're getting from it than just that.
That's
Um,
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think maybe a message is not like, "Hey, women, you suck too." It's not actually my intended message, but I do hope people see, like, when you research things on the internet or even in um, even in academic journals, it's like there's often an inherent bias in those things. Like, even sometimes the way that questions are asked, it doesn't mean that you have to throw out the information that came from it. It does mean you have to take this, okay, like, well, I do know this, right? So these articles I read, like I told you guys a long time ago about one I read out of Psychology Today that was like, here's how you can have a good relationship with someone who constantly withdraws or something like that. And it was all about, the assumption was the withdrawer, who, by the way, usually statistically speaking is going to be a male. um,
mm-hmm.
this is how you handle it. They can't handle this and this, and so you're careful with this or this or this. It never says, hey, consider the fact that maybe they're withdrawing because you're pursuing. Like, maybe if you dial your thing back, they, and you regulate yourself, they'll be better able to kind of open up and approach in a different way. Now, that's not always a guarantee, obviously, but I at least genuinely want people to think, and this is the point of the episode I did when I was all by my lonesome self, is that, like, wait a second, you are a part of the problem. Like, men have valid ideas for relationships. They are not morons. They know good things to do. And often, actually, they are trying hard to make you happy. Now, sometimes that's a distortion. Men sometimes get so stuck on, I will be happy if she's happy, that as soon as she's not happy, then I can't be happy either. And it means I've screwed up. And that's a problem. This isn't just like men are walking around doing a great job and women are just imposing their will on men when it comes to relationships. There's an irony in that, by the way. Um, but I think men buy into this idea. Like, men buy into, I don't know, I'm just a bumbling buffoon when it comes to relationships. That's the only model we have.
Well, and I do think that's interesting, because I do think, sure, um, I I can think I feel insecure in a relationship because I think, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing here. The funny thing is, both of us have talked to enough women to know neither do they. Like, they often experience those same feelings of insecurity. I don't know what to do.
Right.
This relationship isn't working the way I thought it was going to work, and I don't know what to do about that. And I think, right, that's the same insecurity the dude feels.
Right.
But societally, it's talked about so often with men that it's just kind of understood.
Right. Well, and it's perpetuated for sure now in social media, where it's like, leave him. He doesn't know what
Mm-hmm.
it's like, go find a better one. It's like, you're not considering that you're creating the very problems you don't want. I mean, I got
Well,
to stop
so
my
it's
ranting.
no, it's you were saying something before about, and I do think there is, and it's sorry, this like, it might take me a minute to get there. there's there's right, you talked about like the way psychology kind of views the individual, in isolation, kind of like
Yeah,
the
linear
belief
thinking.
is, yeah, there's a problem and it's contained within me, and so if I want to fix it, I have to
Fix
address
me.
my own whatever and not consider how I'm impacted by what's around me. But I do, like, there is an aspect there where I think, yeah, I think often when we talk about like relational dynamics with people, and reframing is the easiest example of this, what they think we're saying is, hey, here's how to do this relationship so that you get the thing you want from it.
Right.
And it's like,
Yeah.
no, like the thing I tell, I was telling it to someone yesterday, like, look, I didn't just reframe this like with you and for you so that you'd let your ex off the hook.
Right.
I reframed it so you wouldn't get so locked in and so like wrapped up in this tight little view that you felt frustrated and constricted, and like I needed you to have freedom of movement.
Right.
And so I needed you to see this a different way. But again, the thought was, well, if I angle this right, if I handle this relationship right, I'm going to get the thing I want. And it's like, no, but you can't control that outcome.
Right.
Right? It's the thing we spend all day like, yes, if you do these things, you're going to increase your chance, right? Like you're going to increase the likelihood that you're understood, and that's going to open doors. But no, like, is there a guarantee this is going to change behavior? No.
Well, and that's not to mention that the negative frame of that is that essentially what you're doing is making your relationship and your partner by default an object that can be
Mm-hmm.
manipulated.
Yeah.
Which, yes, that's why we've said in many episodes, to echo what you're saying, is why we tell people, look, I'm not telling you to do this because the outcome is going to be what you want. Unless your outcome is, I'm being more honest. I'm
Yeah.
speaking up for myself in a way that is honest and not abrasive or shoving it down someone's throat. And so then I think that's perfect. That's what I want you to do. And so with men, it's like, you have ideas, speak up for those ideas. But women, you can't keep believing that men are inherently stupid at relationships, because as soon as you do, you're automatically, without even knowing it from the beginning, deciding this idea is probably not going to work and it's probably dumb. Or it's probably like, men just want to have sex. So probably this, and this.
Well,
There's a good head movement
it's
on that part.
hilarious to me because I think, like, I always laugh when, you know, uh, introverted people or shy people or, whatever are like, no, it's cool. I'll just get a job where I don't have to interact with anybody. And I thought, there is no job that does not hinge on relationships.
Right.
I don't care what industry you're in. There are relationships somewhere. Now, like, is your job going to hinge on relationships in the same way mine does? No, mine is literally just relationships. It's a relationship I connect with my clients, and their relationships. Like, that's literally all I do.
Right.
But there's like, somebody hired you. Okay, well, you have to maintain a relationship there.
Right.
And so I think, no, if there's a man who is successful at business, if there's a man who has a successful career, he understands something about relationships,
Right.
because they would fire him if he didn't. If he was the buffoon that he's painted to be, he would get fired,
Right.
because no one wants a buffoon working for them. Now, like, there are times where I've wives get frustrated because I've, like, they're like, well, but my husband, like, I hate it when he goes into work mode. This isn't a work relationship. And I think, right, but that is where his experience in relationships is.
Right.
And so learn to see, like,
yeah.
yeah, like, he's trying. He's
trying to do a good
trying
thing.
to connect with you in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you accept what he's offering? And that's what I mean. Don't assume he's an idiot. He's approaching it from a different angle than you are. Don't assume
Right.
yours is right.
Right.
Like,
And
you're. Go ahead.
well, I was going to say, like, admittedly, like, when I have a couple in my house, like, I think of one where I'm like, look, dude, I understand that this is how you understand it. And I'm like, but that's not going to work in the context of this relationship. Like, you can't treat her in this way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I understand it's where you are, and so that's where we're going to start from. But like, it's not connecting with her, and so changes need to be made. And some of those changes are with her. And like, again, you need to see the effort that he's putting in, because you feel like he hasn't been trying, but he's been trying,
Right.
and is frustrated that he like, this isn't working. I don't know how to connect. So recognize it for the effort it is. But yeah, man, you can't treat your wife like she's an employee or a client or
Right.
like,
Which is
you
true.
have to connect a different relationship with her.
Yeah. Which is why I'm not trying to say by any means that men don't need to keep changing and improving.
Oh,
But, and this is, I guess, my parting shot. And I mean a literally parting shot, because my take home maybe is something different. My parting shot is, hey, women, if your way was right, you wouldn't be sitting in therapy. It's not like we're sitting here because my way is right and he just won't do it. Half the time he's like, well, I did it her way. It sucked for both of
yeah.
us. And she's like, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
And therapy is not, I'm going to bring my husband in and this therapist will convince my husband that my way is right. Although
Yeah. That almost never works.
I can say I've heard from a ton of people who say, yeah, that's the last therapist just kind of tried to convince me or convince my husband that my way is the right way of thinking. And even some women saying, I didn't want that. But there are some who clearly want that. It's like, no, tell him that I'm right. I'm like, no, you're
Yeah.
not right. So I guess I don't have a take home. Men, you're doing better than you think you are.
Well,
Keep improving.
So that's,
Women lay off.
I guess that's my take home, right? Like, I was listening to a friend the other day, and he kind of expressed feeling like, man, if this is almost the end, I got a lot of things I got to work on. And I thought, no, you're doing way better than you think you are. And so I think there's a lot of truth in that. Like, and wives, ladies, you're doing better than you think you are. Like, I know lots of women, right, where they will shoulder the blame because their husband
For sure.
is disconnecting. And I think, no, you're doing better than you think you are.
Right.
But I do, like, one of my favorite conversations that I've started trying to have with couples is this idea of like, look, what kind of couple do you want to be?
Right.
Like, worry less about the couple that you were, worry more about the couple you want to be. And like, figure out what's it going to take for us to get there. And yeah, that's like, if you come to therapy and you're saying, hey, we can see the couple we want to be, or even if it's we figure it out together, it's so much, to me, it's so much easier to then be able to say, hey, can you see how this dynamic or this pattern doesn't get you where you want to go?
Right. Yeah.
Right. Because then it's like you said, it's not that it's necessarily right or wrong. It's just not doing the thing you want it to do.
Right.
If you're hoping to arrive at this place and be this kind of couple, this dynamic's not going to get you there. So let's figure out the dynamic that does and move towards that.
So, spacemen and women, listen to Mike's thing. It was better than mine. I was just ranting and upset. And then come back and join us next time on the Manspace. Come on, Rob. You know you're beautiful.